All right. Oh, can you hear me? Am I good?
Turn it around.
Yeah,
This
you,
way?
There you go. Yep.
now try.
That was the speaker side. All right. Good evening. Today is
All right. Back out a little bit. So this is the property that the DNR is considering acquiring in order to free up that land behind SCR Solutions. It's a good fit for them to acquire because it is nearby an already existing wetland management area. It's also a little less surrounded by other industry. It's fairly rural out here in this area at this point. So I think when we do get to a point where the DNR is ready to make a move on it, I do hope that the port will consider this option of letting them take control of this property and place an easement on this one instead of what we have directly behind some of our businesses on Fir Avenue. This is a separate parcel, but similar in that it is earmarked for industrial expansion. Here's International Drive going this direction. We have laid out a couple different options of what this property could look like with a road extension, but this is the property that we currently have a lease agreement with Otter Tail Power for solar easement. Again, it's just because at this point in time, the expenses of extending a road without necessarily having a project identified make it a little bit prohibitive. So the port would have to make the decision that they want to extend that road without knowing that somebody is going to build out there and take on those infrastructure costs. So solar being placed there for at least the next 25 years, I believe is what we decided with that lease agreement, could be a good use of that property while we maybe gear up for some industrial expansion. So that's your International Drive. Just maybe an interesting tidbit is that this property used to also be part of this. So these were all purchased around the same time, these Roll Miller properties. This one was sold to Carlton Companies back in, I think it was like 2019. 2019. It is again for sale. So if you are aware of anyone who is looking to acquire a piece of property, this one we do have a contact with the real estate agent, but that's again for sale. It's got great rail access there. When Carlton Companies was first moving on, they were working with the railroad on a potential spur. I think that project sort of ceased. It was around the pandemic time, so I think a lot of different things happened, and now it's back on the market. And our other industrial properties are the Progress Drive properties. These are all shovel-ready sites. So the Port Authority, I believe it was the EIC at the time, and the Port Authority worked together on this extension of the road here. So you've got a little cul-de-sac that we named Progress Drive. We've had some success filling up these lots toward the entrance to Progress Drive, and then we still have available 5 lots of varying sizes along Progress Drive, and then one up here that could be either connected to this parcel and then connected to Progress Drive, or be a Wayrens Road parcel, depending on who decided to purchase it and how they chose to use it. So we do have special assessments to the tune of, on each parcel, somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000, which is kind of a surprise for people when they are reaching out to ask about those properties. I think they would hope that when they're reaching out to a government entity that they could maybe work a slightly better deal. So that I personally think has been a hindrance to some growth there, is those special assessments. So definitely something that we can discuss if and when applications for the land are coming in.
Clara, if you mind 1 second before you leave that, what's the cost of those lots to a corporation or a company that comes into the city?
Yep,
What's
so the special
cost?
assessments currently are between, depending on on which lot they're choosing, between 30 and
So
35,000.
no other cost.
We do have land costs into them. The amounts are fairly negligible, I would say. I think one of the costs I saw earlier today was like $6,000.
Okay. So there's no set price on it, just,
No, so the way that the Port Authority works is we will accept offers. So it's a similar system to the council. So you would ask to see some kind of a proposal, and we would request from whoever is sending in that proposal that it be a reasonable market rate ask for the property, and then we would negotiate from there. So no, we don't offer set prices. We could if we chose to, but that just hasn't been the practice.
Port Authority, do they have the authority to sell it for $1?
Yes.
Okay.
And those assessments might were kind of in the range of 60,000+, but they have gone paid down.
Yeah, that's a
quite
good
bit.
point. They were hired. There was a group called Western Minnesota Industries that was like distantly affiliated with city infrastructure. They had funding that they were using to do things like they built a spec building and then sold that building and some other things. And when they were winding down, they chose to use some of the money that they had in reserves to pay down those special assessments. So that is halved from what it was originally.
Claire, how big are those lots?
It depends. This is the smallest one. It's 0.85 acres, and then this one up here is the biggest. It's 4.55 acres.
Clara, do you have any point of reference for other communities for what their industrial lots, similar size, would be selling for if they would have specials on them, things like that? Or if they're working on a set rate system?
Well, like when you drive down the interstate, you'll see signs that say,
Yeah.
you know, government-owned lots, $1.
Right.
So I think a lot of communities are working it from that angle. We have not reached out to any specific communities similar in size to ask what they're doing.
That's kind of what I was referring
Yeah.
to, is seeing those signs.
I think, and Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We've held fairly firm over the years on those special assessments, just due to the fact that we're repaying the bonds on them, and the people who have been purchasing have been open to that. So when we do get payments in for those properties, we are using those to pay off the special assessments. But maybe you can
We
talk a little bit
discussed
more.
In the last, I don't know, couple years maybe, that would we ever do something different on assessments, you know, to bring those down further, so.
Yeah,
It's
and
up
I
for
think
discussion and-
we'd be getting to that point where we're open to that.
Yeah, because we probably have paid off the bonds by now on the improvement project, so anything we can get developed there and get moving is good.
Do you know when that improvement project took place?
I'd have to look back, I do not remember.
Yeah.
Was it primarily the
It's been
roads? Is
over
there water and
15
sewer?
years.
I'm sorry, Bill.
What's that, sorry?
Yeah.
It's water, sewer, roads, and is there some infrastructure for internet that was included in that? Maybe not. Water, sewer, roads.
Mrs. Beck, what do we need to do to fill those lots? What do we need to do?
Well, we've tried a few different things in the past. We've had real estate agents who have offered the property. Greater Fergus Falls was doing a pretty big push for a while there. Now we're sort of just reactive, waiting for people to reach out and say, you know, I'm looking to expand. I'm looking for a site for my business, and this is the first place that I send them is to take a look at Progress Drive. So we could try a few different things. I think probably having a pretty robust discussion about how we might deal with those special assessments and how we can maybe offer those at a different price would probably move the needle a little bit more.
Personally, from my perspective, I would rather deal with special assessments and a lower lot rate and use that as an incentivize versus looking at a TIF or something like that, so we can get development on the tax rolls.
Yeah.
Just out of interest though, the contour on that land is kind of.
Yeah,
is
it's hard.
A little funky, so it would actually be better if somebody could accumulate, acquire kind of more than one lot and make it a better footprint for them.
Yeah, we've been very open to people looking at, you know, multiple lots, putting them together. That would be no problem.
Bless you.
And our residential development, we have the dairy site, which is currently zoned R4. I don't know, do you want me to pull that up on the map? Is everyone familiar with that location? We can look at it. Why not? There we go. So, just over 17 acres. Anthony, do you have any updates on the railroad discussions about the access there?
No, we need to kind of pick it up again. They go quiet, so.
Okay. So,
Stay on 'em.
just as a reminder, we are working on, we have state money that is going to pay for a trail across the property. And we are also working with the railroad to cement some better access. So those discussions are taking place and would require that we are probably closing off some other crossing points of the railroad. So we are figuring out how best to make that development move forward. So that's where we are with our dairy site. And our final chunk of residential is quite a large amount of property off of 111 here. We have several properties that are unplatted here, and then when you get further in closer to the highway, you can see that there has been platting done for residential development. A couple years ago, we had an engineering firm do just an initial study of what it could cost to extend utilities out for housing development, and that number came back at, you'll note that they're kind of large lots, so those numbers came back fairly high. The Port Authority at that time decided they were probably too high for them to make any moves to do development before there were any housing developers interested, so we've continued to kind of sit on this property. However, in recent weeks, we have had outreach from a local developer who's done quite a few projects in town, and he just started some preliminary discussions with city staff and was hoping that the Port Authority would pursue vacating the current plat that is out there to allow for developers to come in and help set their own plats that would maybe help mitigate some of those upfront costs of infrastructure development. So that, I'm hoping, is a conversation that we can have, maybe not tonight because we're getting close to time, but just maybe as like an informal poll, would that be something that the Port Authority would be interested in pursuing, is vacating the current plat?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I think we can continue to have that discussion. Any final questions about Port Authority property? That is all of them that you currently own. All of this information is available to anyone who requests it. We do have maps and I think links to some of our properties on the city website. And hopefully when we have some economic development in place, they will also be helping us to market some of these properties.
Would you email those to me, this inventory?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
Thanks, Clara.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments regarding this overview for this evening? Okay, we are going to call this Port Authority adjourned.